Hello, my fellow YouTubers and subscribers. Welcome to my latest movie review, where today I review the latest offering from Pixar, Elemental. This movie is directed by Peter Sohn and stars the voice talents of Leah Lewis, Mamoudou Athie, and Ronnie del Carmen. Follows Ember and Wade in a city where fire, water, land, and air live together. Adding to that, it's about Ember, who is the fire element, works in a shop with her parents, and she is being groomed to sort of take over the running of the shop. However, her temper is preventing her father from trusting her to take ownership of the shop, and she's in a bit of a rut in her life. She doesn't really know what to do. She doesn't want to disappoint her father and his legacy, but she also wants to try and live her life. And then one day she meets Wade, who is from the water people, and together the two start building a romance, and they start falling in love, and they try to solve an environmental crisis that's going on in the city, as well as Ember's personal story about her father's legacy. And the film also touches on themes of immigration as well, going into the backstory of Ember's parents. So, Pixar have definitely had it rough in the last few years, there's no question about that. The pandemic certainly affected the release of their recent films. Soul had to go straight to Disney+, Luca had to go to Disney+, and then they put Turning Red on Disney Plus for some stupid reason. And they made a return to our screens with Lightyear last year. Yeah, and that was kind of disappointing. So, I'm delighted to tell you that Elemental is definitely the best Pixar movie since Soul. I thought this film was really, really good. I really enjoyed this film. I don't get where the bad reception is coming from. I thought this was a beautiful, touching love story. The romance was really, really well done. There was a lot of chemistry between Wade and Ember, and I liked the whole concept of the story, and by making them both so different from each other, that's a great message to show that, opposites do attract, and in this case, quite literally. And I think the movie has a very strong message about following your dreams, because Wade encourages Ember to pursue her dreams. He can see she doesn't really want to run the shop. She's kind of been lying to herself because she just wants to do right by her parents, and she thinks that the dream was the shop. I love that moment where her father says to her, "No, the shop wasn't the dream, you were." There's a lovely dynamic between all the characters. Ember is a great protagonist. I think people can relate to her quite well. I certainly can. I've had to work in shops for many years, still do, in order to get where I want, and it's not easy at times, and yes, dealing with customers can be a frustrating experience. Oh, believe me. But over time, you develop patience and you learn to cope with stressful situations. Wade really just supports and encourages her, and when she finds her new talent for making glass, that's amazing. It's great to see how he really brings out the best in her and encourages her to be who she is, and I think that's a great thing when it comes to romance. The attraction is not really physical. It's just, they actually make a joke about the physical attraction. Now, Wade is not the most hunk guy, but she loves him for who he is and for his kindness and his honesty. And there are some genuinely touching scenes where he confesses his love for her. The finale as well is especially intense when, the shop is all crumbling and there's water flooding in, and then everything's burning inside the hot room, and then Wade has to save Ember. I don't want to give too much away, but that whole climax is genuinely emotional, and it's definitely classic Pixar. It brought me back to those earlier days where Pixar would really strive for the emotional punch, and I think they have done that here. And I think that if you're not getting the feels by the end with the two lead characters and their romance, then something's not right. The movie hasn't worked for you. But for me, it did work, and I really bought into this romance, and it was nice. It was so nice, and it was the very happy moments. There were also low moments, and I think that it was well balanced. The world building itself is good. I wouldn't say it's the best world building that Pixar have ever had. I would give that to Inside Out, but the world is very interesting. That's what I will say. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of the other elements. There's one or two characters from the, Earth side of the Element City. And there's also a character called Gale, who is the sort of I guess, the wind element, like the cloud, who sort of attends these sports events, and she, like Wade, works in the sort of city area, and they make a deal with her to, tear up the tickets against the shop if Ember agrees to help Wade solve some environmental problem. That's all I can say. There's quite a bit going on in this story, and maybe the youngest of viewers may kind of get slightly bored at first, but I think over time it's a film I think that will grow on them. It's beautifully animated. I love the animation. I think it's a fantastic looking film, and the CG is brilliant, especially the way the water kind of moves. Like, Wade is very well animated and he's almost in kind of like a superhero like way. He's sort of like the way he kind of forms and then reforms. It looks brilliant. I also like the whole immigration plot as well, going into the backstory of Ember's parents and how they had to come into this city. And I think it's a very relatable film in some respects for a lot of people. Like my friend Lauren from the US, it's very relatable to her for similar reasons. I thought the soundtrack was a little odd in places. It was kind of weird, but then I thought about it, and then I thought, actually, the music seems very random because I think it's trying to capture different cultures, and I think that at heart is what I can see the intention. I don't know if the music entirely works for me, but it worked enough and it sounded pleasant when it needed to, and for those emotional moments it hit the right beats. And the movie's funny, it's incredibly funny. It's a good time, and especially the scene when Ember has to meet Wade's family. I think there's a lot of great comedy there. There's a lot of great interplay there between those characters, and again, this movie, it just left me with a smile on my face. I was really enjoying it, and I was in a packed screen. There were so many people in there, and we all had a great time. And for a long time in the film, the two leads don't actually touch each other. And I think the moment when they do finally touch is incredibly beautiful. There's so many beautiful moments. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's just so good. It's definitely the sort of classic Pixar. It's the emotion that we all look for, and you'll be doing yourself a real disservice if you don't see it. And before I give my rating, I also want to touch on the short film. Also, if you remember the character Carl Fredricksen from the film Up, well, the short film was Carl's date. So that was really interesting to see how Carl Fredricksen is trying to move on from the death of his late wife, Ellie. And there was a really, really lovely moment where he speaks to the picture in that. And Doug is in the short film as well, and he's very funny. Again, I can't say too much, but that was a really, really beautiful short film, and certainly makes up for the Simpsons short film that we had before Onward. But as for Elemental, I really enjoyed this film, and I think it's very underrated, and I do think you should give it a chance. Go and see it while you can, because it's genuinely fantastic. Was it worth the hype? Yes, I was really anticipating it, and I really enjoyed it. So my final rating for this movie is a 10 out of 10. Granted, I had a couple of minor flaws, but I'm really just picking fault because the whole presentation of this film is beautiful. Granted, I wasn't sure quite where it was going at first. It took me a while to sort of get into it, but then once the two leads met each other, that's when the film sort of flew off for me and had that direction. And I think that it was a good payoff in the end. And I must admit, I nearly went in the finale. I nearly shed a tear. So that's my review of Elemental. What do you think of this film? Please comment down below, let me know. Shout out to Lauren, my friend Lauren from the US. And please hit the like and subscribe button for more content to come in the future. So until next time, I'm Pajak's Perspective. See ya. Bye for now.